Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar today. I hope that all of you are hearing us well. If you can send us a quick thumbs up on your end on the Zoom bar, you have some emojis that you can use to let us know that all is good, or you use just the chat box. Perfect. So let's start this session today all about the RFP season. So I'm happy to introduce to you today our speakers. So we have our very own Laurence Corrieras, the GDS product manager at D-EDGE. Laurence, if you want to say a quick hello.
Yeah, hello everyone. Hello.
And we have as well Laura Cresswell, strategic account manager and solution consultant at Cvent.
Hi, thank you very much for having me today. It's great to be here.
Great. As for me, my name is Anaïs, and I'm the product marketing manager at D-EDGE, and I will be your host and moderator for today. So let's dive right in. The agenda for today's webinar, Laurence will start by giving you a quick reminder on the GDS, since the RFP season and the GDS are closely tied together. She will explain all about it and putting the emphasis really on all of the opportunities tied to this distribution channel and how to go into the RFP season with the right mindset, I would say. And then we will pass the mic to Laura, who will dive deeper into some market trends seen at the RFP level at Cvent. And she will also give you an interesting view on how corporations and travel agents search for properties. So before we just go ahead with Laurence, we want to make this session as interactive as possible. So we count on our audience to fill us with great questions. So please write down your questions during the webinar in the dedicated Q&A tab that you can see on the bottom of your Zoom bar. And we will do our best effort to answer as many as possible. So it's now time for me to pass on the mic to Laurence. Just give me 1 second, Laurence, and I will just give you control and mute myself. And I'll let you.
Good. Thank you, Anaïs, for your introduction. So I'm very happy to be with you today and talking about GDS with our partner Cvent. First, even if I'm quite sure the majority of you already know, let me give you a short introduction of what GDS is and what is it for. So GDS is a primary reservation tool for travel agents. So for hotel, the #1 advantage of using a GDS is increased demand that can be generated. This is because a GDS represents a single entry point for a huge number of travel agents globally. When an hotel is connected to the GDS, thanks to the GDS provider like D-EDGE, your hotel is visible on the booking system of more than 1 million travel agents working in 550,000 agencies worldwide. Allowing this agent to book your hotel rooms for the client can significantly boost total bookings and revenue. GDS is a single point of access used by travel agencies to book travel services, including hotel, flights, rent-a-cars, train, etc. Thanks to this technology, a travel agent can book a full package easily and quickly for its customer. So, sorry, let's go. Sorry. Alors, so our GDS a dead channel. So we hear sometimes that GDS are dying for the benefit of the internet and OTAs. Here you can see on this chart the average booking per hotel generated via our GDS connectivity at D-EDGE. Everything is in index format and not in volume. And as we can clearly see, the pink link for 2023 meets the blue line for 2019 at the same level pre-COVID. So the rebound we just saw in 2022 is growing and we can confirm that business is back. So is GDS a corporate channel? So GDS is the preferred channel for corporate travelers and especially beneficial for any hotel that is targeting corporate travelers. Statistics show that booking from GDS are 80% corporate and 20% leisure. This is because big companies outsource the management of the business trips of their employees to the TMC for travel management companies. These travel agents fully manage a business travel requirement delegated by a company or organization to fundamentally save clients both time and money. Some major TMC include BCD Travel, American Express, ABC, and CWT. As the TMC are travel agents, then travel bookings are made through the GDS technology. So why are corporate travelers important for your hotels? So corporate travelers are a major target for hotels for different reasons. Firstly, corporate travel is still a growing market with increased availability of flight and the growing popularity of business events and conferences, meaning corporate travel is frequent. Those who are required to travel for business are often expected to travel to the same area multiple times a year. If an hotel can attract them and make a positive impression, that can potentially lead to return business from them and their employers. On top of this, they may also suggest your hotel to other people they are in contact with. Business travel can be less seasonal, and events are often arranged well in advance. Securing room booking ahead of time can help you to manage supply and demand more effectively. Guests who visit the area on business may also spend additional money on things like conference rooms or hiring out work area within your hotel. Moreover, there is also the trend for leisure guests. Those who travel for business purposes but extend their stay for leisure purposes. Hotels attracting this customer benefit from extended stay and more money being spent on additional hotel services such as laundry, room service, restaurant, and gym access. When a corporate traveler book his room, he is less price sensitive for a professional trip compared to a personal one. For this reason, a corporate booking can have a higher ADR than other bookings. Targeting business traveler is a key priority for many hotels. So let me give you great tips for attracting them. First one is to offer corporate amenities. So for hotels that are looking to benefit from business traveler, providing amenities that will appeal to this customer is vital. Some of the most obvious examples here would include private meeting rooms and easy access to laptop or phone charging ports. However, you can go a step further. Corporate travelers are likely to be busy and may need to fit things in when they can. So any 24-hour services or facilities you can offer will appeal. Try to impress them with the speed of your internet, the quality of your Wi-Fi, workspaces, express check-in and check-out, and on-site food and drinks. Second tip is about your content. Many corporate travelers or TMC, travel management companies, will look at your hotel for information about what you have to offer. A great way to entice these people is to include a specific business section so that they know that you are a business-friendly hotel and have something valuable to offer them. Third tips is to analyze your corporate travelers. Finally, those in the modern hotel industry have access to vast amount of customer data, making it easier than ever to get a firm grasp on exactly who your customers are, what their motivations are, what they need, what they like, and what they do not like. This information needs to be used to analyze your existing corporate travelers. Try to identify some trends or details that help you to understand your business travel guests. Where do they come from? How do they book rooms? What time of the year are busiest? What company do they come from? Last tip, sorry. No. Can I go back? Sorry. Last tip is about the prospection of your local market. There certainly are companies located around your property. These businesses potentially need accommodation. For them, the proximity of your establishment is an obvious advantage. Depending on the estimated volume, you can make a deal with a negotiated rate. This allows you to link a reservation to a company name. And at the end of the year, you can analyze the production and determine the potential to renegotiate the contract or to carry out marketing action towards this company. But be sure also that you add in your PMS the company name of a customer who booked via different channels like phone, website, OTA, GDS, to be sure that you are able to track all booking made by a corporation. Signing a local contract will allow you to charge this negotiated rate on GDS. If the company corresponds to the subsidiary of a larger group, the local contract will become global and therefore much more visible. And for your contracting directly with large company, you have to be ready for the RFP season. Laura from Cvent will get back to you about RFP and will give you all the detail. Important thing to add is about the new indicator created during the COVID period. The blue symbol you can see on the screen here is the Stay Safe indicator. This indicator has been deployed on 3 GDS, so Amadeus, Sabre, and Galileo. Here is a print screen from Sabre. This will reassure a travel agent to book an hotel who has this indicator. It is a guarantee that his guests will be welcomed with good conditions. This is something which is easy to add, and your GDS provider or account manager can help you on this process. The second thing is the hotel rating. The number after the star is a rating of the hotel as per North Star rating. So North Star, if you don't know, is the only company in the world to give a rating to hotels on GDS. And this is in terms of crown and not stars. This is a free service and it's important to do it. When an agency searches an hotel on GDS, this is part of the first information provided. And it's different from the number of stars your hotel has. Even if your hotel has a star rating, you can have no rating here, and it can be a loss of revenue. In the screen here, you can see it's part of the filter when an agency searches an hotel on GDS. If they search an hotel with 3 crowns and your hotel has no rating, your hotel won't be part of the result. And same for the Stay Safe indicator. So all of these recommendations that I have given are especially important if you are looking to engage in RFP season. We recommend you have a look at all of these points before going into to make the most of it. So really take the time to access your profile and all the information you are provided about your property. So before I give back the mic to Anaïs and Laura, If you are an hotel not located in a very corporate market, or you are not sure about your potential GDS, or if you are an hotel connected to GDS without production of you, or if you want some help to attract more business from GDS, feel free to contact us. We have some GDS experts at D-EDGE who can help you. Thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you, Laurence. I will now give back the mic to Laura. So Laura, give me just 1 second to allow you to share your screen. And guys, don't worry, we will have some time to answer all of your questions. So feel free to fuel us with your questions either on the chat or on the Q&A box in Zoom. I personally have some in mind already for Laurence. And Laura, I'll let you go ahead.
Wonderful. Now, bear with me a moment. I'll share my screen in just a second. Okay, you should be able to see my screen now. As before, if I could get a very quick thumbs up.
Yes.
Wonderful. We're good.
Perfect.
Okay, so now before I get into my presentation, I do have a very quick forward-looking statement that I'd like to share with you. I'm not going to read it all, but essentially what this is explaining is that the statistics that I am going to share with you today are true to this day. However, as recent events have taught us, certain factors that are beyond our control can impact market trends, as we now have learned the hard way in recent years. So it is therefore possible that forecasts and projections that I'm sharing today may not necessarily come true, but as of today, they are accurate. Now, first, I'm going to give you a very quick overview of Cvent. So we have 2 platforms, the purpose of which is really to facilitate buyers to meet suppliers. Now, on our MICE platform, which is the Cvent Supplier Network, the buyers might be event planners or meeting organisers, and the suppliers would be hospitality professionals like hoteliers, like yourselves, or anyone that has meeting event space. Now, today we're focusing, of course, on the transient platform, which some of you may know as Lanyon. Now, on the Lanyon platform, or Cvent Transient, our buyers are corporates, they are travel management companies and consortia that Laurence mentioned earlier in her presentation. But the suppliers are, again, hospitality professionals like yourselves. And so we're going to focus on that Cvent Transient platform now. Now, on our transient platform, we have solutions to support hotels and chains alike, but the hotel level, purely and simply that we're looking at today, we have different solutions to cover various stages of the RFP cycle. Now, whether it's before the start of the season, Laurence referred to this earlier in terms of prospecting clients in your local markets, we have proximity reports. Then we have solutions during the RFPs and RFP season itself for responding, managing your RFPs, and also potentially having access to RFPs that you weren't directly invited to with the solution market leads. And finally, in terms of bidding on those RFPs, negotiating and understanding how to benchmark your rates, we also have business intelligence. Now, we're not going to go into any detail on those now. We're going to focus more on the statistics of what's happening in your markets. Now, Laurence did speak in a lot of detail about the GDS during her presentation, but I want to make it very clear, although Cvent has very close ties with the GDS, Cvent is not a booking platform. So the Cvent Transient platform truly operates as a hub between your buyers, those consortia, those travel management companies, those direct bookers, the corporations, and the hotels. So really, the idea of the platform is to generate demand for your properties during the RFP season. So the aim is to communicate, the aim is to facilitate that communication between buyers and suppliers. So we can see from the end-to-end process, the negotiation period, when the corporation sends an RFP to your hotel. If it's an RFP that you're interested in, of course, you would submit a bid. Maybe there'll be negotiation back and forth between the buyer and your hotel. And then if everything goes well, your hotel is accepted and you will take your rates, put them on your CRS before they're then placed on the GDS for booking. But Cvent has visibility of this part only. Once your rates are accepted and they're on the GDS, we don't have visibility into what might be produced into a given market. So please just think about that when we're sharing the statistics in just a moment. Now, very high level stats for you. During the 2022 calendar year, we had over 855,000 total RFPs sent on our platform. This is actually slightly less than in 2021, where we had over 900,000 RFPs in that calendar year. However, in 2022, 1,700 unique programs were launched, compared to 2021, where only 1,200 programs were launched. And also in 2022, whilst 86,000 hotels received an RFP, in 2021, there were over 134,000 hotels that received an RFP. So what does that tell us? Ultimately, companies are consolidating their programs. There are more programs, but fewer invitations are going to hotels. And so what does that actually mean for us and for you as hotels? Really and truly, there's more competition between the hotels now. Now, at a global level, in terms of recovery, you can see how each of the regions across the globe has recovered if we compare 2023 as an RFP season to 2020. Now, I should point out here, for us, 2020 is considered, the year 2020 is considered pre-pandemic when we think about the season, because the majority of the RFPs were actually sent in 2019 before COVID-19 let loose, shall we say. So if we compare 2023 season to 2020, we can see that the Middle East and Africa region is leading the way in terms of recovery. So in 2023, Middle East and Africa received 88% of the volume that it had received pre-pandemic. APAC is then following with North America, and then Europe and Latin America are in joint place at the back. Now, some of the different corporations and types of corporations that we have sourcing on our platform are listed here. This isn't a full and exhaustive list, but it's just really to give you some examples. So on the left-hand side, you have the consortia programs. And again, Laurence referred to these in her presentation. In the middle, we have some examples of the travel management companies that are using our platform. And then on the right, we have some examples of some of the corporations that are sourcing directly through our channel. Okay, so now we're going to look at some global market trends. Now, in this table, we can see the total volume of RFPs per season. So we're focusing on 2023 season, 2022 and 2020, which, as I explained before, is what we consider to be pre-pandemic. Now, on this top line, we're seeing the total number of RFPs for a given season. Then in the second two rows, what we're doing is we're breaking it out by corporate RFPs and then consortia. Now, for corporate RFPs, what we're looking at is the RFPs that where hotels were directly invited. So those RFPs sent by travel management companies and those direct bookers, those corporations. For consortia RFPs, we're actually looking at the number of hotels that opted to participate. Because as you know, with consortia RFPs, they're pretty much open to everyone, as long as the hotel is willing to pay to participate in that program. So that's the difference that we're looking at here. Now we can see that if we can look at 2023 as a total, we haven't quite met pre-pandemic levels. However, when we break those down, the real big difference is in the consortia RFPs, so those pay-to-play programs where hotels have to pay to participate. So we can see that actually, in terms of that total, so in 2020, there were 807,000 hotels across the board that participated in, or not, sorry, not 800,000 hotels, but over 800,000 instances where hotels were participating in multiple programs. In 2023, that has grown, but it is notably less than in 2022 for the season. But the corporate RFPs, we can see, has increased from 2022 as a year. So 266,000 RFPs were solicited to hotels from TMCs, from corporates in 2022 year, which of course is less than in 2020, but in 2023, we have recovered some of that loss. So again, we're not quite back up to pre-pandemic levels, but the number of hotels directly invited has definitely grown since 2022. Now, what we're going to do here is dive into the trends by the different RFP types, so those consortia versus corporate RFPs. The number of unique consortia programs has remained pretty steady over the last few years, and this doesn't typically change a lot. In addition, the total number of hotels that are participating in the consortia programs has remained relatively flat. In some cases, interestingly, we can see, so from 2020, more hotels were participating in consortia RFPs, so it has even grown. This does differ if we look at individual regions and certainly chains. We can see a different behaviour with hotels. Now, if we look at the corporate RFPs specifically, we can see the total number of unique programs. So these are the unique programs, the travel management companies, those direct corporations. That has increased quite significantly from 2022 season. We're still not quite back up to pre-pandemic levels, but it is going in the right direction. Now we have the details of the number of hotels invited or solicited. So again, this has actually increased, which is interesting because we saw before on the high level statistics that the number of hotels invited had come down, but that was for the calendar year, whereas now we're looking at the season specifically. So again, this is important. We're seeing an increase in the number of hotels invited here, so it does mean that there is more competition. And then finally, we're breaking down the rates. So AWR is referring to the average weighted rate, and that is because on the Cvent transient platform, it is possible for hotels to submit up to 5 rates depending on the different seasons throughout the year. So what we're doing here is averaging those rates out across the year, and we've put them all into US dollars, even though we know some hotels will be bidding in different currencies. So what we can see here is the rates, even before the pandemic, they have remained relatively steady across the board when it comes to business travel. And again, if we were to look at this for different regions, for instance, if we looked at Paris, we can see that there's been a huge increase and spike in the rates. But when we look at this on a global level, it does average out and it has remained relatively flat, but it does change by region. So here we're looking at the RFP volume per month and how it changes over the different seasons. Now, on the different colours, blue represents 2020, so those pre-pandemic RFP volumes. Orange is reflective of 2022 and purple is reflective of 2023. Now you can see that the seasonality in terms of when the RFP volumes month on month is coming in, that hasn't really changed since before the pandemic. The RFP season typically, click happy, one sec. The RFP season typically starts in June. We have RFP volume mounting in July and August, with generally September and October being the peak months before the RFP volume starts to fall off again. Now, you can see in 2023, we also had a spike in January. So this is where corporations are sending RFPs in January 2023 for the 2023 season. And as you see here, we still were receiving RFPs in 2023 as far out as this month, June, for the 2023 season. So we're definitely seeing a shift in terms of when the corporations are sending their RFPs. But as Laurence said earlier, we are already receiving RFPs for the 2024 season. So the RFP season has started and you do need to be ready for that. Now, what I wanted to show you here with these different coloured lines is how 2023 as a season performed in comparison to 2020 and also to 2022. So if we look at 2020 versus the red line, as a comparison, we can see that generally across the board, 2023 was pacing behind the RFP volume of the same month for the 2020 season, understandably. But the yellow line is comparing 2023 with 2022 season. And whilst the first few months were not so great, we did pick up the volume. And as we saw on previous slides, eventually we came out on top of 2022 season for 2023. So it's going in the right direction. We're just not quite back up to those 2023 volumes yet. Now let's look at the trend of accepted RFPs for the 2023 season. You will see that the trend in terms of seasonality in the months of accepted RFPs, it follows the same pattern that we just saw on the previous slide. So what does that mean? What does that tell us? Ultimately, it tells us that the period between a company submitting an RFP and a hotel then later being accepted into the programme can actually be a very short time window in the majority of cases. Therefore, it is important that your hotel is responding to RFPs on time. Now we're taking a look at some of the top countries based on RFP volume alone for the 2023 season. So you can see that in terms of RFP volume, the United States, not really surprisingly, is at the top in regards to RFP volume. So they received the most RFPs in 2023. Then you have some UK quite considerably behind, interestingly, and then all the other countries here. So we've just taken these, again, this is not who we consider top countries for any other reason than RFP volume alone. Now, if we jump into those top countries, we're actually looking at the change year on year for those RFP volumes again. So in this case, blue represents a comparison of 2023 versus 2022, whilst green represents a comparison of 2023 to 2020. Again, unsurprisingly, 2023's RFP volume for all of those top countries did not match the same RFP volume that they saw for the 2020 season pre-pandemic. No surprises there. But what is good is that for all of those top countries, with the exception of France, all of them maintained or exceeded rather in 2023, they exceeded the 2022 RFP volume. Now we're looking at the top cities. Now, interestingly, we saw before that America was the top country in terms of RFP volume, but the top city globally was actually London. And then we have Paris here in 6th place and a load of other different cities here. And again, just based on RFP volume alone. Once again, we're looking at those volume changes, but for the top cities now. So as we saw before for the top countries, for the most part, well, for all of the comparisons between 2023 and 2020, so pre-pandemic, none of the top cities hit pre-pandemic levels in 2023. However, with the exception of Shanghai, all of those cities exceeded 2022 RFP volume. Now, taking those same top cities that we just saw on the previous slide, we can now see the change in the number of hotels that are invited to participate in those corporate programs. And in almost all cities, you can see that more hotels are being invited into the programs, the exceptions being Paris, Shanghai, San Francisco, and then Boston, where less hotels were actually invited to participate in programs for 2023 versus 2022. So for those, what you want, how your takeaway from that would be, again, there's less hotels being invited, so therefore there'll be more competition in those markets. Now, going back to global statistics here, this is generally the pattern that we're seeing in terms of the number of hotels invited to programs. But before we get into that, we saw before that there were 1,600 programs at launch for the 2023 season on our platform. 16% of those programs were Fortune 500 organizations. But this is how they're distributing in terms of the number of hotels invited. So of these programs, it shows us that actually over 60% were not inviting any more than 100 hotels to participate in their programs. So they're not huge programs, and this is globally. Now we're going to look at Cvent Transient from the buyer perspective. So what is their solicitation process? What does it look like? Now, a company can search for a hotel directly on the Cvent Transient platform by its name, or if they know its ID, its specific ID, because they've worked with that hotel in the past, they can also search by that. The most common ways to search, though, are actually the distance from the company's location, their office location, or by the chain or representation company like D-EDGE that the hotel belongs to. Once the business, the corporation, once they enter the details, however they're searching, they click search, and then they can see a map view of the results. So in the map view, their office would be in the middle, and then all the hotels are located in the vicinity around that office. You can also, or the buyer can also display the results as a list, as we're seeing here, and this is very common. And in this case, the results would be sorted by the distance from the office location. So all of our buyers, before the RFP season, they'll enter in the different offices that they'll be traveling to, and then that's how they will search for hotels, typically by proximity to that office location. And if the company wants to know more about the hotel that they're seeing in this list, they can simply click on the hotel name to open up the hotel profile. And if you want to know what your hotel profile looks like to a buyer, you can go onto your property profile within your Cvent Transient login. And in the top left, you'll see a hyperlink for hotel profile, and it will open up a window similar to this and show you what your profile looks like to the buyer. It's therefore imperative that you keep your profile up to date. Now, I've highlighted here some examples of where fields have not been completed, and you'll be able to see them in your own profile. Wherever you see a question mark in that field, it means that you haven't completed the information. Now, at Cvent, we're often asked if it's still necessary to complete questions related to COVID, or if companies are really interested in questions around sustainability and the environmental impact of a property. We did ask our buyer customers, because we service both sides. We work with hoteliers, but we also work with the buyer customers as well. And we did ask the buyer customers if we should now remove the COVID questions, because we feel like we've recovered from the pandemic now. But their answer was categorically no. It's still very important to them. And also, when it comes to sustainability, this is not a buzzword, and it's definitely not a phase. If you go to any trade show now, any seminar in relation to the industry, there is undoubtedly going to be a session or an entire section devoted to sustainability. So it's really important that your hotel takes it seriously and fills in those questions. In fact, last month, I actually attended a separate partner webinar for partner workshop for another representation company, and they had a guest speaker in from a corporation that uses Cvent Transient. And during that presentation, that corporation, who is Flight Centre, mentioned that they use the responses from the hotels to the sustainability questions to generate an environmental impact score for the hotel. So it is therefore really important that you do answer these questions. Once you've done them, yes, it will take time initially, but once you've done them, it's something that typically is not going to change a lot. So it's worth investing the time now, and you can do that through the platform. So within your property profile, on the top right, you would need to make sure you change the customize view to display all fields, and then you would click on the custom categories section. Once in the custom categories section, you will see another view for customize view, and you can change that to channels. Then you will see your existing answers to the COVID-19 and sustainability questions. So just make sure that they are updated, because it is something that is being checked from the buyer side, and you don't want to miss out on an RFP simply for not having input this information. Oh, sorry, I've gone way ahead of myself there, apologies. Okay, so that was the custom questions. Now, some of the companies that actually use Cvent Transient platform on the buyer side, as well as soliciting hotels, as we just saw that process for negotiated rates, they also have what we call a hotel directory solution. And Lego is an example of one of those corporations. Now, this is a directory, and it's used for the traveling staff member to see which hotels have negotiated rates with that company, with Lego, for instance. As I said at the beginning, though, Cvent is not a booking platform, so they're not booking through this tool, but they are just looking to see what hotel they have the options to stay in when they're traveling to a given location. It's simply a directory, and we're going to have a look now at how that works. So not too dissimilar to an OTA platform, they would type in the location of where they're going to, and then the user is ultimately presented with a list of hotels which their organization has already created or set up, negotiated and preferential rates for. And as we saw previously, if you click on the name of the hotel, you would then be able to view the full profile of that property. So an example of which is here. So as with the solicitation profile, all the content is pulling from your hotel profile in Cvent Transient. Hence, again, it's very important that you do keep that profile up to date. And while hotel images may not be as important during the solicitation period, because you might have one travel management company that's working on behalf of multiple corporations, or you might have someone that's just in charge of organising those negotiated rates. They're not the end traveller. So for solicitation, images are not necessarily as important. However, when it comes to the individual traveller that's choosing between your hotel and another hotel, then it's extremely important that you are providing the best possible images for your hotel. Why would they want to select your hotel if they could choose another, for instance? So it's really important that you do keep that up to date and showcase your property. And finally, just a final stat for you, again, looking at these different images of a hotel. I shared earlier that we had over 1,700 programs that sent an RFP through our system during 2022. A third of those programs are using this hotel directory function. So if you think that's 570 possible accounts, but how many staff do they have from those accounts? At Cvent, we have 4,000 staff, over 4,000 staff. So just think that's one account with over 4,000 potential people looking on directory for a hotel to choose. So again, it's very important that you maintain that profile so that you stand out. Now that's it from me. I wanted to thank you again for having me. It's been a pleasure. And now over to your questions, if there are any. You're on mute.
Yeah,
Nate.
can you just, thank you, Laura. I was saying if we could just stop sharing the screen so that we can
Wonderful.
all be visible. We have actually quite a few questions for Laurence and you as well. So maybe we can start from the top. For Laurence, when you talked about the North Star rating, we have a question about this rating. Is this rating done via the North Star Travel Group or via another organization?
It's North Star Travel Groups, yes. To get this rating, the process is very easy. We just have to send an email to North Star. At D-EDGE, we have the template, so we can share with you if you have a D-EDGE customer, I don't know. But you can also contact us and we can share the process. It's not only a D-EDGE process, it's a global process. So we are happy to share the email. So you send an email to North Star team. They are based in the US. And so they will reply and give you an access, login and password to the extranet. You have to log in and 10 minutes for you to complete the questions they ask you, and then 3 weeks after you will have a rating in North Star, and yeah, it's very easy.
Great, thank you. We have somebody, an anonymous from the audience. I think there's a bit of trouble here when the corporates using some booking tools such as Concur, they cannot find the rates bookable even though it's loaded correctly, for example in D-EDGE. What can be done in this case?
Okay, so D-EDGE provides the technology from the CRS from D-EDGE CRS to the GDS. So if the rate, we can be sure that the rate is loaded on the GDS. Okay, Amadeus, Sabre. If we have a third party like Concur, KDS, Agencia, or other SBT tool in between, then this is we can there is maybe something between the third party and the GDS. So we are here to help you on that. We have the contact of each third party. So, but as at D-EDGE, we can be sure that we send the correct rate in the GDS, but after is Concur or other third-party tool do not get the information that because they are not well interfaced with the GDS. But again, we are here to help.
Thank you, Laurence. I have a question for Laura, actually. How can a hotel use the proximity report to attract more customers?
Good question. So the proximity report ultimately provides you with a prospecting tool. Prospecting list, should we say. So a hotel has geo coordinates of its location, as do all the corporate buyer offices. So when a hotel purchases a proximity report, what they would receive is a list of all the corporate offices of buyers that are sourcing into the market where the hotel is located. So that information on the proximity report would include the company name, the office name where they're located, the address, and how close they are to your hotel, as well as confirmation of if that corporation has solicited your hotel in the past via our system. So you would use that essentially as a hot list of who to contact. You don't, think of it like a prospecting tool. Typically, it would be used in the pre-RFP season, so now, so that you could really understand the opportunity in your market. But it's essentially avoiding you having to go through that manual process of trying to understand where is the opportunity, who do I focus, who do I contact, and how do I even know who is sourcing in my market?
Thank you, Laura. We have another question. I'm taking there, chronologically. Why does the hotel not get any reservation during the contracted period being accepted by a corporate company? Is it possible to get any support from the GDS provider in regards of assistance to get more RFPs from corporate companies, or should it be hotels sales team effort mostly?
Yeah, I can maybe reply. So we can see this kind of situation that an hotel has an agreement with a corporation, and after weeks they do not know why there is no bookings. But in fact, for some of the reasons, the main reason I can say it's maybe a rate loading issue. Okay, so maybe the hotel doesn't share to the support team the rate loading instruction, you know, the document sent by the corporation to load their rate on GDS. So maybe they provide the rate loading instruction from last year, sorry, and it was not updated. So this is some reason we need to update every year the rate loading instruction as the code can change. But what we can show at the edge that the rate is well loaded because we do the loading for the hotel. So if you are sure the rate is loaded and you have no booking from the corporation, then after that it's better that you ask the corporation why they do not make any booking. I don't know if you, Laura, you want to add something on this, or we?
Well, we don't really, because once the rates are negotiated, we don't see the production. And our role really, having the platform, is just to facilitate the negotiation process. Once the rates are negotiated, we don't see what happens in terms of production. And also we can't convince the buyers to select certain suppliers for their choice of travel. In some cases, it can come down to that individual traveller that's looking at the directory. It can come down to rate. It's not something that we can get involved in at all, really, unfortunately.
Yeah, but yeah, be sure that at the edge we can be sure that your rate is well loaded to the correct agencies who book for a corporation.
Yes, thank you, Laurence. We have quite a few questions actually regarding, you know, how to register for a new hotel and how your hotel can be listed on Cvent, and many questions about that, and you know, how can we get a user and passwords for a Cvent account, etc. So maybe I can, Laurence, you can share, but I think at D-EDGE we have a partnership with Cvent. So if you are a D-EDGE customer on GDS, you can benefit from a special rate for Cvent, right?
Yes, exactly. So we have an agreement with Cvent, and thanks to our partnership, hotel who is connected to our GDS connectivity can have this rate, and we can create an account for them, and that's it. Yeah, easy process.
Yeah. Thank you. And we have for Laura, actually, I think you can answer this question. We have quite a few questions regarding the content that is loaded on Cvent. You talked about the information about the hotel, the images. So all of this, where is it all coming from? Where do the images come from? Where does all of the information on your profile come from? Does it come from the GDS, or does it come from a specific profile that is on Cvent?
Good question. It comes directly from your Cvent profile. So all the content, whether it's descriptions of the hotel, your GDS codes, etc., and your images, all of that is taken directly from your Cvent transient profile. So whether you are a D-EDGE hotelier and you're logging into D-EDGE's domain, you will have your own profile for your hotel. That is where you'll update all your content. I understand that there might be some Accor properties on the call. You would go into Accor's domain, but you would have your own your own profile for your respective property, and that is where the content is drawn from.
Thank you. I have a few interesting questions again. Is there any way that a hotel can get data of how many buyers are doing business through GDS in their area to consider getting online with GDS through Cvent?
Sorry, and that was a question for me. Could you repeat the question? Sorry.
Yeah. Is there any way that a hotel can get data of how many buyers are doing business through GDS in their area?
We wouldn't know the GDS. We can only tell you, again, we can share insights into who is sourcing on our market, but I would say 95% of the corporations that are using our channel are then buying through and booking through the GDS. And there's many of our corporations as well that use our platform for sourcing that will insist hotels are on the GDS because that is their preferred method of booking. And Laurence talked about this earlier. It's not a dead platform. It's so much easier from the buyer perspective to be able to manage everything in one place, because it's not just hotels. You know, it's air flights, it's taxis, it's car hires, it's everything in that one portal. So for a hotel, that we do have some hotels on our platform, it's true, that are not on the GDS. Do they get as many bookings? I don't know. I can honestly say, though, from the buyer perspective, we have many buyers that will insist if a hotel is not on the GDS, they simply will not solicit them because it's more hassle for them. And if they have to then create a new bespoke process for that one hotel, candidly, people don't have the time. It won't happen. So they will get less business. It is very important to be on the GDS, and most of our bookers are booking through the GDS afterwards. I can't give you statistics for how many and what, because again, that's outside of our remit. But we do know that many of our buyers will not invite hotels or consider them if they're not on the GDS.
Thank you, Laura. Maybe we can take one or two questions. We have 5 minutes left. If the hotel is changing its chain code, is it necessary to inform the corporation about the same to avoid a failed audit, for example?
Yes, it's important that when the hotel switch from one GDS provider to another one, so to inform the corporation. So as Laura said, in the hotel profile in Cvent, you have a section dedicated for the distribution system, I think, section. So you have the detail of your GDS. So it's important that you update your GDS code inside this section in Cvent. But if you can also, if you have in your PMS, the email address of some travel agency, it's important that you send an email to them to inform that on that day, the hotel will switch from one chain code to another one.
Thank you. And last question, and we can end on this one, regarding the Cvent directory, and I will maybe merge two questions in one. How important are the details on the other hotel services, example restaurant, and to what level of detail do the hotel needs to go in? And we actually have another question that appeared around the same time as you were showing the information about the profile of the hotel. What if the hotel is far from an airport, like more than 70 miles, are they not eligible? So I'll let you, Laura, end this one.
Sure. In terms of the content, I would say be as detailed as you possibly can, enter as much information. It's information that once you've done it once, you're probably not going to have to change unless you do a refurbishment and then you want to add new images. But it is worth making the effort now to get the content in there, get it up to date and get it detailed. Yes, it's important to include details about the restaurants because from the buyer perspective, there are certain amenities that they can filter by as well. So again, you don't want to not put the effort in. Don't mention that you've got a restaurant when you do, and then the buyer selects to filter by hotels with the restaurant because maybe they're getting in late and they don't want to go out for dinner, or maybe they're getting up early and they don't want to have to go out and find their own breakfast. And if your hotel has got a restaurant but you neglected to update that in your profile, that would be a real shame to potentially miss out on that business. So yes, I would say it is important, and be diligent and add the detail. In terms of the airport location, really and truly, then that will depend on how far a traveller or the corporation is willing for their staff to travel in order to get to their accommodation. They will set in parameters of how far they're happy to accept. I mean, if you've got an office location is in the hotel, an office location is in and around an airport, then maybe the likelihood is that that particular organization on that particular travel will choose a hotel that is relatively close to the airport if they're only there for 1 or 2 days and then they have no intention to travel to the city centre, for instance. But it will vary on the corporation and also the individual traveller for how long their stay is, as to how far they might consider accommodation for their needs, and if they have time to travel outside of just where their office is located. So that's really down to the individual corporation and the traveller themselves. But I don't think location, it doesn't prevent you from being invited. It is just subject to the criteria of the organization, of the corporation.
Thank you, Laura. So it was our last question for today. I maybe can answer another general one that I saw in the comments. This webinar will be available on replay during the following week. You will be able to find this webinar in our display platform, which is our VOD platform at D-EDGE. And to access display, you can simply log into D-EDGE.com and click on the right display button on the menu. I want to thank everyone for tuning in, for your comments and questions and inputs. Before signing off, there will be a quick survey popping on your screens once we log off, and we would really appreciate if you could take the time to answer and give us your feedback on this session. Stay tuned on all of our social media pages for our next webinar, and feel free to really connect with Laura and Laurence on LinkedIn. And thanks again. Have an incredible end of the week, and bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.